Okay, it's about noon here Eastern. Welcome to our PracticePower Academy webcast. This is the 12th one we've done since we launched this program or this value-added piece. And again, looking forward to covering some things with you today. There are basically two main parts of this. The first part is I'm going to take some, basically some content, some topics that have been sort of things that I've been working on with my personal coaching clients. So these are things that have really been occurred in my world in the last 7 days, and I want to share them with you. And then obviously the other thing you have the availability to ask me questions, either as part of the registration process or during our webcast here. You have that opportunity. And again, just really quick, I want to go over what we do here. So the reason why I do these, and it's funny, I look forward to these Wednesdays at noon, is it gives me an opportunity to really connect with each and every one of you being PracticePower Academy members, and to me, it gives us an opportunity to make something that's very interactive versus something that's just kind of static with some e-learnings and stuff like that. It really enhances your membership, and it's really, if you think about it, it really is coaching at the highest levels because, again, it's interactive, and it's one of the best value propositions that we have out there in the industry. Also, like I said, I'm going to bring you stuff that I'm working on now. So not just what you see on PracticePower Academy, but different topics, different things, different areas that I'm covering with my client base today. We talked about it being, again, an opportunity for you to ask me questions, and it's kind of one of the bigger deliverables that we have in PracticePower Academy versus PracticePower. The one thing I do want to share, which is not part of this agenda, but will be next time we're together, is in December, I will be hosting a 3-day live business planning webcast. Now, when I say 3 days live, I don't mean we're going to start at like 8 a.m. and you're going to be looking at me on your computer screen until like 8 p.m. What it means is there'll be 3 days when there'll be a 3 to 4 hour chunk of time where you can come in, bring your business planning form or log into PracticePower and allow me to help you as if you were sitting in the room with me live working through that. And again, we'll announce that as part of our September webcast. Okay. So basically, I've got 3 things that I want to cover with you all today, my topics, if you will, for the week. The first thing I want to do is I want to cover basically morning success rituals, and not just why they're an absolute must, but how to have different versions or variations of them, because what I find where advisors sabotage the strategy of an MSR is they kind of build this grandiose one, right? And it's powerful and it serves them well. The challenge with that is if you have a morning where, maybe you had a bad night, maybe your kids were up, or your dog was up, or your spouse was up, whatever happened, or you didn't sleep well, right? And you slept in a little bit and you're skinny on time. What most advisors do, they have what I call this all or nothing concept, right? Which is, let's just say your typical morning ritual, you need 45 minutes to do, right? So you get up, you do your power questions, your visualization, you read your business plan, you go over your monthly game plan, create your daily game plan. Now we do some, whether we're listening to something, reading something, watching something, right? Our mental diet, and you wrap all that up, and it's 45 minutes, and that's optimal for you, right? Perfect. The problem is we don't operate in an optimal environment every day. So what I want you to do, and this is what I do with my clients, is let's create different versions of our morning ritual, right? So for example, could you do your morning power questions? How long does that take? It's really 1 to 2 minutes, right, when you really think about it. How long does it take you to do your visualizations? Maybe 1 to 2 minutes, right? So I'm up to what, 5 minutes? If I had you review your business plan, and maybe just module 1 or maybe module 1 or 2, what's that going to take? 5 minutes? And we glance the morning ritual, we can take a look at our daily game plan, and we don't have time for a lot of mental diet stuff, so we'll skinny that out a little bit, right? And you can take a morning ritual and really get it down to 15 to 20 minutes, okay? Now, Is that optimal? No, it's not. But is it better than nothing? Absolutely. And what we have found, and this has been just my personal work, what I have found is that if you do some level of a morning ritual, and that does not mean you flip on the TV or you start your day with your email, but you have some semblance of a ritual, that ultimately that day is going to go better for you. Now, is it going to go as good as it could have done if you had a whole 45 minutes to execute the thing? Probably not in reality, but it's still going to be a heck of a lot better than kind of getting up and just like fire drill, right? And you fly in and you come in the office and you're totally reactive. That's not what we want to do. So I just want to lay that out to everybody, that create a shortened version so that when you have those mornings where you know what, it just ain't going to happen, make something happen versus making nothing happen. Okay, I just want to make sure we're very clear on that going forward. All right, the next thing is, here we are, literally the dog days of summer, right? August 15th, 16th, that week here. A couple more, literally 2.5 weeks before we hit Labor Day and the mad rush to the end of the year goals. What should you be working on? Well, as I told my clients, and I'm very clear on this, is make your touch base calls. Reach out to your clients, reach out to your prospects, expect them to tell you, hey, thanks for calling. Can we do this after Labor Day? I'm totally fine with that. I would anticipate that. But the key differential is, let's make sure that when they say, yeah, let's get together again after Labor Day, you say, great, let's pencil something in, right? Versus, oh, okay, I'll call you after Labor Day, and then you got to go track them down, and then it's another week or two, and then the next thing you know, September doesn't happen the way you need it to, and you're really not feeling good about anything going into October, okay? I've said this for many years. August sets the tone for the fall. You have a couple of weeks left. Make sure you're hitting your touch base calls, you're doing your follow-ups, you're working the plan that you've put in place for yourself over these next couple of weeks. The other thing, if I had my druthers, is I would kick all my clients out of their office for the last week of August, minimally, right? Number one, no reason to be there. Number two, you really want to be well rested, excited, looking forward to really crushing it come the fall. And a lot of times, quite frankly, we kind of think we're just going to ramp this thing up, and we're not there. So make sure that you do get some we call it renewal time, RT, renewal time, so that we're ready to go. And look, if you're one of those people that just, I can't afford to go anywhere, I got too much going on, whatever, do me a favor, do yourself actually the bigger favor. At minimum, take a long weekend, right? Take Labor Day weekend, shut it down maybe Thursday, Friday, Monday, feel like you had a window where you're not involved in the business, and do that, okay? Otherwise, you're going to run into the situation where you're just not going to feel like moving things forward, all right? Last thing, and then we're going to get into some of your questions. Like I said, we'll wrap this thing up probably about 30 minutes this week. I'm reminded often of the power of a touch-base call or email. Again, if you think about it, there's three modalities we tend to use in a client relationship, okay? Modality one is reviews, right? We do our client reviews. Again, whether they're in person or over the phone, that's one level of experience. The second one is when we call or email, and I don't mean like a newsletter piece, I mean like we do something, right? Something that's personalized, a voicemail, a custom email, things like that. And then the third piece is kind of what I call our stuff, right? So that's our newsletter, stuff that would go out automatically, the list, things like that. So there's three different communication modalities when you look at it. What most advisors do is they overvalue the review modality. They overvalue it. A lot of advisors still operate under this concept of doing quarterly reviews. I think quarterly reviews, in most cases, again, there's always exceptions, I find a quarterly review is pure overkill in most cases, and nothing more than a fee justification vehicle for the advisor. It doesn't add a lot of value, because how often are you really making changes, right? And then secondly, do you really want your clients looking at your performance every 90 days? When in most cases, what's our philosophy? We're long term. We want to kind of look at things over the course of years, right? Maybe even decades, and yet we're doing these quarterly check-ins, right? So for most of my clients, what we do when we look at their models, we'll shift them away from a quarterly review to a semi-annual review, and what we do, we backfill it with touch-base calls. So what's a touch-base call? A touch-base call or email, could be either or, is nothing more than a, hey, was thinking about you, want to see how things are going, want to see if you have any questions on anything. No need to call me back unless you want to discuss something. Hope you're doing well. Talk to you next month, right? Or next quarter, or see you whenever, right? It's just there to remind the client that we're thinking about them, that we care, that we're reaching out to them to make sure. Remember, as an industry, what is the number one reason a client will sever a relationship with a financial advisor? It is not performance. It is not fees. It's communication / overall value proposition. And to me, it's the simplest thing to do. I call touch-base calls cheap relationship insurance. So you want to insure your relationships with your client base? Touch-base calls. So what does that look like? Again, or an email. We run basically 3 models, and I'll share them real quick, and maybe we'll make this actually a topic for one of our other webcasts. But we run, I run an ABCD model for my clients typically. A clients, top 20% of the revenue stream based on revenue, not assets. That's a 12-2 model. 12 being a monthly touch-base call, semi-annual review. B's are the second 40% based on trailing 12 tranche. We're going to run a 6-1 model with them. Every other month, touch-base call, annual review. Our C book will be the last 40% of the tranche, and that will be a 4-1 model, quarterly call, annual review. So you're sitting there going, okay, so what are the D's, right? So the ABCs are based upon recurring revenue from that perspective, recurring revenue. And or if you have very active trading clients that you can almost predict their fees, right, from that perspective. The D book are all the clients that are not in the model and who are more transactionally oriented. That is more of a, I call it the Schwab model. We call it the D book. Some of my clients call it an S book. Those are prospects to us because we want to bring them into a model, right? Point being is your touch-base calls in the aggregate are going to be more valuable to you in enhancing relationships than doing a bunch of reviews with a client. What you really want to consider is you want the client saying, hey, you know what, my person calls me every month. They check in with me every month. Versus, well, I have a couple reviews a year, and they're boring. It's the same stuff over and over again, and then I don't hear from them, right? That is not the way you want to move things forward. So I would encourage all of you to really consider if you're not hitting your A book every month proactively and leaving a voice message or sending a personal note out to them that, again, it's cheap insurance, it's a way to create value, and a really great way to build relationships. Okay, so those are the 3 things I just wanted to cover. Again, the morning ritual, what to do for the next couple of weeks, and then really understanding touch-base calls, and then obviously we got into a little bit of segmentation here. Now, as part of the webcast, it's time to answer your questions. So a couple things. We do have some questions that were teed up, so let me go grab them real quick. And also, I see we have some people, dropping some notes in here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and handle what I got here first, right? And then I know, Jamie, you got some questions, and Dave, you got some comments. I'll make sure we get them on the board also. But let me handle these. They were first in line. They actually submitted them along with the registration. And what I like to try to do, if I can, and I don't know if they're here or not, but I'm going to take a quick peek. And if they're here, I'm going to try to get them on the call. So let me see if I can find Tim real quick, if he's even here. If he is, I want to see. Yep. What do you know? So, Tim, you don't have to participate, but since you got me for a few minutes, I just unmuted you. How are you doing? Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Tim. How are you?
Sorry, I lost you. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Cool, okay. Cool. So, talk to me about the junior broker question. Where is the best place to hire a junior broker? Tell me what you're thinking, what your needs are, and then let's have a conversation around that.
Well, the book is growing and we're doing well. We just found that we got a lot of those D type of clients or those C clients that my time is not best spent dealing with. So I thought, hey, let's go find a junior or someone else that you can kind of give that off to, and then you focus more on these Bs.
I like it. So would the model be are you looking for a salary bonus, or would you consider a split? Because that matters in who we're going to look for.
I never have thought about that. If the person was right, I would do whatever was best. For them. To be honest with you, I just was trying to find somebody.
Okay. So here's what we're finding in some of my clients, and I'm going to leave the line open so we have some follow-up questions. So my first preference in any of this would be I'd rather go find a salary bonus person for a couple different reasons. Number one, that way it's your book of business. There's no question on who owns the client. They work for you. They're just in charge of the C&D book, if you will. And it would be a salary, and the bonuses would be based on additional revenue that would come from those relationships, right? Now, how this person would actually execute that would be they would have two major deliverables to the business/team. Number one is they would execute an annual review with all the C&D book, and they would be the person to take care of the client's service and the needs and whatever that would come out of that C&D book. They would sell as a byproduct of the review or execute a financial plan, if that makes sense, right? Because what you got to be, and this is what we found over the years, and I've had bad experiences, so I just want to put this on the board. Whenever you hire, like, oh, this person's going to be great because they're go-to, all the things. A lot of times you're creating competition 3 to 5 years down the road, because they're going to wake up one day and say, hey, I'm really good at this. I can do this on my own, right? I don't need Tim in his business, right? And then all of a sudden you got that issue. Where if you go find somebody who's more planning centric, they're going to want a JOB, they're going to want that safety and security, and they're going to want to make some bonuses and stuff like that, and that can work out really, really well, depending on, again, your business model, which I don't know your model personally here. Where I'd find that person, a couple different places. Recruiting out of a bank broker, a young bank broker, right? Because at the bank, he's never going to get equity, right? Or she, never going to get equity there. But perhaps you could create an equity situation for them, right? I would look there. The second place I would go, depending on where you're located, would be if there's any colleges that offer a CFP program or a financial planning track or the FPA or the CFP board. I would be looking for somebody more in that psychology, because they're going to be more team-oriented. They're going to want to do plans. You never tell them they have to sell. Hey, you just got to do reviews and then execute what comes out of those reviews and plans, right? They'll be loyal economically. A great example. I've got somebody, we just picked somebody up like that. $40,000 base, just coming out of school. And I think with bonuses, the first year they'll make maybe 50. I think they'll, so my point is it's not a six-figure deal, and they're going to pick up a $200,000 book of business for us because they're going to run about 300 C&D clients for us, right? And so that will be a profit center for us in a year, and we get that off our book, right? So I like going to the bank and finding somebody there, because guess what they do all day? Meetings. All they do. Look at the CFP board and kind of your local colleges. If there's any, again, if there's any planning tracks, we want to do that. I think that's an incredible way to do stuff. And here's what's interesting about millennials, and that's kind of what we're seeing. Unlike most of us, and I'm going to go say most of us who grew up in this industry in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, we came in this business looking to make a lot of money in most cases. The millennial today, they want to make a decent living, contribute, and have safety and security. That's what they want. So as a business owner, Tim, for us, we can get talent at a lot lower rate than we could have in the old days, right? We had to go recruit somebody, do a split, all the other stuff we'd have to do, and then hope it worked, and then hope we don't create a competitor. So I think for you, I would look in the bank. If I wanted somebody who has experience and I didn't want to train, I would look in the bank. That would be a great place because those people are underappreciated, underpaid in most cases. Or if I wanted a blank slate, I'd be looking for somebody that's coming right out of the CFP program at either through the FPA, CFP board, or local school.
Great, thank you.
All right, good?
Good.
All right, cool, excellent, thanks. All right, let's go to the next question. Mary, let me see if she's here real quick. Unfortunately, I don't, oh, it's too bad she's not here. All right, so I'm going to ask her a question that way, then we'll flip over to Todd, and then we've got some other questions on the board here. So Mary says, hey, my day gets away from me, and I seem to work all day and not get very much accomplished. I think a lot of people in this industry can say that from time to time. What can I do to get my day back under control? So since she's not here and I can't get all the details, I'm going to go with more of a pat answer, if you will. So first thing is, and this is going to sound interesting, you know, having a sideways day a lot of times is not about organizing the day. It's we've got to take a couple steps back and say, well, wait a second, what's our overall business plan, right? So what am I looking to accomplish in a global sense? What am I, and it goes to what we talked about last week, the funnel. What am I looking to accomplish in 30 days? So what does that window look like? So what's my 30-day game plan or my monthly game plan, right, or MGPs? And then what do I need to do to get things to happen today? So where do we get those questions answered on the what has to happen today? That's always going to be part of a morning ritual, right? Because that's where we set the tone. That would be number one. Number two, do you operate with a written daily game plan? And I don't mean a to-do list of reactionary things, but here's what I need to drive, right? Touch base calls, meeting set, introduction conversations, driving the business, not reacting to the business. And then the other thing I would say is environments matter, right? So am I in an environment, I don't care if you're in a major wirehouse or you work out of your home. Totally doesn't matter to me. But what's the environment like? You know, you have a ton of distractions. People coming in, wholesalers coming in, the doors open. Every time the phone rings, you actually pick it up instead of seeing who's there first or letting staff deal with it. You know, how much control do you have over that? Because environments do matter. And then physically, what does your environment look like? So if you come in and, you know, if you guys are looking at me on video, I mean, I keep my office pretty solid. I mean, I'm pretty minimalist here. Why? I always want to have the feeling that I'm in control. And you cannot underestimate, the psychology of when you walk in your office. Look, you hit that office door of yours, you only got two choices. I'm in control, or, oh my God, look at it, it's like a bomb hit it, right? You always want to make sure your physical environment is totally in control. So that's what I would tell Mary. And then I do want to shift to Todd, and I think Todd, I thought I saw him here. Let me see if I can see if he's here. Whether or not he wants to play, we'll see, but let's see if I can grab him if he's here. No, he's not here. It's too bad. So anyway, let me see if I can answer Todd's question. Is earning a CFP and quote unquote important today? Or maybe that was that Todd or Kevin? Maybe it was Kevin. Kevin, was that your question?
That was.
Yeah, I don't know why Todd ended up there. We punted some, so my apologies for that. I thought it was you. That's what I'm saying. I haven't talked to you in a while. So anyway, hey, how you been?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. So walk me through the CFP question. Is earning your CFP as important going forward with regards to the new fiduciary standards?
Yeah. So as with anything, I've always wanted to tackle that, but with running a business and getting the time that you need to obviously focus on that,
right.
The question becomes, with everything we have coming down the pipe, clearly is it as important as it was a couple years ago?
Right. Good question. My initial answer is going to be the one that I've been giving, so I'm going to stay with it until otherwise noted. I'm going to say no, and here's why I say that. Yes, the CFP board has their own standards in place. But I think, again, and here's the other thing too. Nobody really knows yet what the standard truly is going to be. As much as we hear about the DOL and this and that, I don't have one organization yet that I'm aware of now. Again, that I'm aware of that has definitively issued final regulations of how we're going to handle this and what the regs are and what the paperwork looks like and everything else. Nobody has seen an actual best interest of client agreement, what that's going to look like, what the terms are. So I'm going to say no to that currently, okay? Now, there is a designation that I do have several of my clients going to get. So Ken, I will say this. Are you familiar with the IAF, the Accredited Investment Fiduciary designation?
Actually, no, I'm not.
So that's one that I do have several clients. It's nowhere nearly as stringent as a CFP. Again, I do not go through these myself, but the clients that I have who have gone through them, they thought it was really worthwhile to go get. Again, you have to find if your firm would recognize it. It teaches you not just about fiduciary standards, but it also teaches you how to take notes, how to basically cover yourself in terms of making sure you're doing a good job for clients. So it's not just some analytical and theoretical thing. There's some practicality to it, and quite frankly, and this is just the way I think sometimes, it has the word fiduciary in the designation, right? Accredited investment fiduciary. So from a marketing standpoint or from a image standpoint, I think that one may actually have a little bit more quote-unquote marketing juice to it than just a CFP. So I've said this for 20 some odd years, and I'm not going to change my mind now. I've yet to see a clearly delineation between getting your CFP in economics and not getting your CFP. Okay. Now, with that being said, I will say that I do have several clients, actually more than several if I think about it, who have a CFP either on staff, right, or a CFP they have access to via virtual or joint venture, where if we need to bring a CFP in to do planning, right, we can do that. But like you said, Kevin, you're a business owner, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to be the one to have that CFP.
Okay.
One of my partners, platinum partners, they just got their junior person. She just passed the CFP very recently, and so now she's in charge of the planning department for them, right? So she'll do the CFP, she'll handle all that. She can do paid plans, all that, no problem. She runs the planning department. My guys do the investment management, and they run the businesses, just like we've always done, right? And that works out really well. So my point is I'd hold off on it because that's a big thing to deal with, right?
Right.
Maybe you look at the AIF as an alternative because that's a lot easier to handle. And let's just see how the future holds. Like I said, I'm not recommending to any of my clients at this point, let's go make definitive decisions based upon new standards or DOL because we're not sure what it looks like yet. So just hold off on that, even if you want to do CFP, okay?
Thanks.
All right, cool. Thanks for being here. All right, cool. I got some other final questions here. So let me see if I can grab James, see if he's quick. So there he is. See if I can grab him. Jamie, can you hear me? Can we hear you?
I can hear you.
Oh, cool. And it's like so tell me about this question here. I've been in terms of the LinkedIn profile, no longer accepting new clients, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a crazy thought, and well, since you opened yourself up to it, I thought I would throw the question at you.
Sure.
I'm at a place right now where I'm just as busy as I can possibly be. I have more clients than I can comfortably take care of.
Right.
And, I'll take on some big clients, but I really don't need any more small clients.
Right.
And so just wondering, would it just be suicide to put on my LinkedIn profile, no longer accepting new clients? That my thinking was that perhaps, number one, the kind of people that I would be interested in taking on as clients wouldn't feel like, I was, trying to sell them.
Right.
If I'm coming from a position of, I'm not looking for new clients.
Right. You come from a place of abundance, basically, right? Right. So a couple different thoughts on that. I think first off is that you never want to condition your clients not to be looking for new clients for you. You know, that you don't have an issue there. What the issue is, what do you deal with the ones that you don't want? That's really the bigger issue, right? That's really what's driving this. So let me ask you, and you don't have to give me a number, nor am I asking you for, are you still looking to make more money?
Yes.
Because you said you're busy, but that the goal of this industry, at least my goal of my clients, is not to keep them busy, it's to make them economically abundant. So what you're saying is there's still some more, you still want to make some more, you still want to ramp it up. So here's what I would say to you. I think a better thing to do, a better utilization of your time would be to come up with a strategy to deal with the clients that you do not want. So, you know, the C&Ds, right, as we talked about earlier today a little bit. You know, so right now if I said to you, if let's just say for somebody to be a good client of yours, it's a $5,000 a year revenue stream that you need to them to work with Jamie, and you get a referral to somebody, and let's say it's going to be a $200 a year person, right? Whatever, they don't have any money. What's our strategy that we use with the ones that are not going to be profitable? What do we do?
You know, I usually tell them that, you know, you're probably better off opening a Scottrade account.
Right. Right.
You know, and handling. You don't need my high-priced advice.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them something like that.
Okay, good. No, that's fair. So in other words, yeah. So the way I would phrase it, look, I would love to work with you, but the fee that I'd have to charge you just wouldn't be in your best interest, and I just can't professionally do that for you. So here's what I recommend, right? So we always say we like to kind of fall on our sword a little bit from that perspective. Talk to me a little bit about the clients that you do have, the C&Ds. How are you currently handling those? Because you said you can't take out any more clients, but so that tells me that. But we're not making all the money we want to make, so that tells me we still have a chunky C&D book, basically. Correct?
Yeah. In fact, I was taking copious notes during this discussion of where to find a junior broker, because I think there's probably one of those in the future.
Yeah, I think look. I mean, there's only three ways you can accomplish. And I know your firm, and I've got a ton of clients at your firm, and I was talking to one of them this morning, and I said to them, you know, you've now maxed out your model. You cannot grow. So either we're going to keep hitting against the wall, or we need to go make a shift. And one of the shifts they need to make is they either have to go find a junior person, or they got to do a resegmentation, right, and maybe downshift some of the service to some of the smaller clients. Or quite frankly, I've got clients that do this every year. They fire the bottom 10% of the book every year. They just clean them out, right, and do what they want. So I think for you, my concern would be for you to put, I'm no longer accepting clients, is that one day the truth is you just want the right ones. So that's not accurate, number one, right? Number two, if you want to continue to go forward, you're going to need to find a way to deal with the C&D book. You know, so to give you a quick example, the client we did this morning, and I'm looking over here because I saw my notes from the call. You know, we figured out that if he were to offload the D book and not even deal with them, which are just really low, small transactional clients, legacy stuff, if you will, and we were to take the C book and drop it to an annual review versus a semi-annual review, that he would get about 100 back a year. And that would give him, that's like, almost 8. That's like 2 or 3 more meetings. He could take on now another 25 A clients by pivoting out of that C book, right? Then all of a sudden now you've got capacity again. So what I would have you do is look at your slotting. What are my models? ABC, right? D, I gotta go here with them. How many slots do I really have? And then what's my capacity piece, right? That's what I'd have you do. And then come back and say, okay, here's what I need to do then going forward. Okay?
Okay.
Right.
You don't see any potential marketing value in putting
my
that
concern,
out there.
Here's my concern. I'm okay if you say, hey, I take clients by referral only. I'm cool with that. I've got clients that do that, so I can say that. My concern is I'm not taking any more clients on. Number one, it's not really accurate. Number two is that it will rob you of some great opportunities, because what would happen if you're sitting with a client during a review and they say, hey, I saw that you're not taking anybody on, that's too bad. my friend who had $5 million, right? I would have loved to refer you to them, but I saw that you're not taking anybody on, so I sent them over to XYZ, right?
Okay.
You would puke.
Yeah, that would be a bummer.
Yeah, you would puke, right? Because I would puke, right? So I don't want to do that. So no, I would not put that on the board. I understand the reverse psychology, make scarcity mentality, right? Things like that. I understand. Yep. I understand where you're trying to go with this. That's just not the right strategy for this because it sends also a different message that we're not open for business anymore. So I'd want to stay away from that. Okay.
Thanks.
No, thank you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the comments. I love doing these things too, which is always cool. All right. Let's go. Dave writes, it's touch base calls are much better than emails. Personal. I agree. Email's lazy. What I would say is the bottom line is it boils down to the modality of the client. So if the client is email centric, it has the same value to that person as if you were to call them. If they're again auditory and their modality is that way, then phone calls, good, better, best, right? But I do have clients that work with a lot of C-suite and professionals that the email is totally cool. I'll say this respectfully, even though the compliance people don't like to hear this. I do also have a number of clients that will text a quick note to some of their top clients. Hey, hope you're doing well. Checking in. Any questions? If you want, give me a call. Right. So again, different modality going forward. No question on that. Now, for the record, so Fred, I reband myself from steps of amount 1 million or more. Interesting enough, all the client get referrals the company have been more than really. Yeah. So in Fred's comment here, yeah. I mean, if you're very clear in your branding and in your messaging, hey, we have $1 million minimum. Yeah, that will tend to obviously attract that $1 million minimum. And then the only thing you have to then figure out is what are you going to do when you get the other one. So in other words, what I would encourage you to do, Fred, is when you have a mechanism, whether that mechanism's in-house or you refer it out to another professional, so that we're always doing right by our client, right? Because here's my philosophy on referrals. You're not obligated to take any human being that's ever referred to you. You're not, this is not a nonprofit. This is not what we do, right? What I would say to you is what your commitment is to all your clients and say, look, you refer somebody to me, I'm going to give them some of my time. Whether that's 30 minutes on a call, they're going to come and sit with me for an hour in my office, whatever we're going to do, right? That's going to be the case. And I'm going to do what's in their best interest. So if it's in their best interest to hire me, I'm going to push to get them to get hired. If the economics are not going to work and it's not in their best interest, I'm going to make sure that I point them in the right direction. Like to Jamie, I'll send them to Scott's Trade, or I'll send them to the local bank, or maybe I have a colleague that can handle that because it's a better fit for them, right? I'm always going to do right by that referral, even if they're not a good fit from that perspective. So you just want to keep that in mind. So it's a great comment also. And by the way, Fred, nice seeing you. Glad you're here. Last thing we want to wrap up and get everybody back to doing what they do is I am on the road next week. I am heading to Atlanta to visit some of my platinum partners, and then I am in Seattle hosting our Magellan Mastermind meeting and study group. So next week I'm out, and then the following week I'm on my summer break. So our next webcast is going to be Wednesday, September 7th at noon Eastern. So the way the invites are going to work because of the holiday is, again, you can go, actually you saw the old link, you can go find and register now, is Tuesday morning you'll get an invite, probably maybe late morning, clear your inbox out, and then Wednesday. But again, we're here every Wednesday, the first 3 Wednesdays of every month. We're here doing these webcasts for you guys, so I'm glad you enjoy them. Like I said, hey, I will be in a wheelchair on oxygen doing these things, all right? So we're in this thing for the long haul, all right? Thanks for being here. Make it a great day. Remember, get some downtime between now and the end of August, right? Make sure we're ready to rock and roll come September. And I'll be announcing the dates for the business planning webcast next call, okay? With that, have a great couple of weeks. See you all after Labor Day, and I just can't believe it's going to be that late already. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of the summer.